This week's episode of Movie Jungle is brought to you by the Bic Matic Grip Mechanical Pencil. All right, that was the ad.
Meanwhile, back in the jungle.
Welcome everybody back for another episode of the Movie Jungle. With me this week is Mike T again. How's it going, man?
Going well. Good. We're getting into the swing of things on this.
Yeah. It's been really fun establishing a regular cadence.
Yep.
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm on a roll with my talking today.
It's good to know that we have thousands upon thousands of listeners. So I think things are picking up.
Things are picking up. Yeah, and Will Smith, I know you're listening. You asked me about this earlier off camera. There's no camera here. But I did almost die. He thought I was going to almost die in our latest D&D fight, and I did. Our latest D&D session, and I almost died, but I didn't. So just Will Smith, you were wondering about that. There you go.
It was very close. I have heard that apparently there is a semi-secret underground like Dungeons and Dragons circle among like Hollywood elite.
I've heard that too.
There's like a couple DMs, like Hollywood DMs that run some elite tables, which I think is pretty fun.
That's super awesome. It would be. I mean, what would you give to be a part of that? That would be so cool.
Yeah, just to even see it. Like, I just want to know who's... Like, some people are pretty open about their D&D roots. Like, everybody knows that Vin Diesel was in a D&D when he was a theater kid in New York.
Yep.
Jon Favreau was a D&D geek.
Yeah. I thought I heard Henry Cavill's name come up, too, in D&D circles.
I'm not sure if he's a huge D&D nerd. I know he's a big Warhammer nerd.
Oh, wow.
He posted pictures on social media this year of him painting Warhammer minis.
That's so cool.
And he's a big gaming nerd too. So I think he actually just uploaded a video of him putting together his gaming computer.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch the video. I just saw a bunch of links to it though, and I think that's so awesome that he's like, look, am I potentially the most handsome man on the planet and like a jacked Hollywood superstar? Yeah, I guess so, but also
Everybody's
is fun.
just swooning over him in his muscle shirt putting together a computer.
For sure. So great. So what have you been watching lately? What's been on your TV?
Well, this is kind of weird to say, being a co-host on a movie podcast, but I have not been watching a lot of movies. Been playing a lot of Dark Souls.
Playing a lot of Dark Souls. Play Dark Souls.
Playing a lot of Dark Souls. But what have I watched recently? Well, last week I watched Demolition Man.
There you go. Smart.
In preparation for our podcast.
And actually, I'm going to steal that as a segue for a recap of what's coming. So I keep forgetting to do this. I need to get better about it. But today we are going to talk about an awesome similar movie to Demolition Man, which is Total Recall. So we'll get into a little Total Recall after we touch on the news and stuff. But so if you're waiting for that, just a heads up, that's coming. But you've been watching some TV, some PJ Masks.
Yeah, right. Some Timu Mizumi. All the big hits.
Yep.
I watched Artemis Fowl recently over like the last week or so.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, we watched all of it.
Nice. What'd you think?
It's not good.
It's a little crazy. I thought it was like...
It looks super cool, but I don't even know what it's about. And it ended when I thought the movie, I was like, well, this is kind of the first act is pretty long, but I mean, I guess I could sit around for another hour of movie, and then it just ends.
It's like, no, this is the whole movie, sir. Sir, this is the whole movie. It was pretty abrupt. Like, they definitely very blatantly and potentially overconfidently set it up for more movies. Even though Artemis Fowl is a massive book series, I just feel like it got like put on Disney Plus, which instantly removes a little bit of its shine. It still could, if it would have been good. A good movie is still good. People want good movies. There's no, yeah, and we'll actually get into a good movie that's not in the theater in a little bit. But I just think that if it would have maybe had more time to breathe and had a normal cinema release and had like its own release date, like release window that wasn't next to a bunch of other Disney blockbusters, like I think they just didn't have faith in it, and that's why they did what they did with it. And it looks to have been the right choice. But I thought a lot of it was like really fun, and then a lot of it's just like super crazy and weird. And
I didn't really know who this Artemis kid still was by the end of it, or like why these creatures are helping him after he was a huge dick to him the whole time.
Yeah, or is he just a villain? Like, I know his whole shtick is like he's a villainous kid or something, but why are we rooting for him?
Sometimes it can be hard for me to explain to people when movies seem like they have really, really bad pacing. But I think anybody can understand that this movie has some of the worst pacing of all time. Like, the movie just unabashedly, with zero explanation, goes just from one scene to the next, and it's just like skips the middle act and just goes from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie with some shiny scenes right in between.
It does. But I don't know. It might be worth watching, though, just to see Josh Gad turn into a human earthworm. But anyways, yeah, it was okay. It was fine. I mean, it is a kid's movie, and I'm not a kid. So maybe kids love it, but it's nice when they can kind of
still like good movies.
Right. It's nice when they can hit all cylinders making kids movies to where we all like it. But that's cool. That's cool. I watched so I was going to say I watched a movie that was never in cinemas with Betty last night called The Old Guard on Netflix. And it was pretty dang good.
It was the new Charlize Theron one?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got Charlize Theron. What's his name? Played Jafar in the live-action Aladdin. And then it's got Chiwetel Ejiofor in it, and a handful of other people. But it was super cool concept. Felt like it was well executed. I felt like it was well paced. Yeah, it was really cool, fun action movie that like knew what it was, and like it was never too crazy or weird, or followed its own rules pretty well. Yeah, really good. Really good. I highly recommend it. Do you know what it's about at all?
I think I've seen the trailer a couple times, but I don't.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like, for those who maybe don't, just a brief spoiler-free synopsis would be, it's like there's a handful of people that become immortal with no warning or reason, no rhyme or reason, and like what they do with their lives and like that kind of thing. It's really
cool.
Yeah, I'd watch the trailer yourself, and if it looks interesting, I say definitely go for it, because it was quite good.
That's a neat premise.
Yeah, it was very dope. Anyways, you want to get into a little bit of news?
Let's do it.
A little bit of movie news?
Little movie news.
Movie news, it's time for the news, and I need to make a real news song. All right. I'll start it off here. The Grease prequel movie has a director signed on. How psyched are you for a Grease prequel?
About as psyched as I was for the Grease sequels.
Fair. I think, they could get a good cast, and like it might be really good. It might be fun, but I just think it's a fool's errand, in the same way that the Solo movie was a fool's errand. Even though I maintain Solo's a pretty cool, good movie, it's still, despite having, we're not going to get into it, we don't have time, but despite having one sort of major flaw near the end. But you can't replicate John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John in the 70s with modern actors.
No.
So
it won't be the same.
Yeah.
It won't be the same. I love the Grease. I love the first one.
Yeah, the first Grease is dope. This one, actually, I'll give it some credit. Like, it could have some really cool songs, which would be great, because that's kind of a hallmark of the movies. And I'm sure, hopefully, they'll have good performances and stuff. But they're going for it.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. Curious to see who they get in there.
Yeah. Well, the director, I said like they found a director, and I never said who it was, but they've got Brett Haley is the director that they got. Which according to this article, thank you, Screen Rant, by the way, for the article. Oh, he's a newcomer, so he's done some indie films, but nothing.
Oh, nothing big? Interesting.
No, nothing big. So
it's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, we'll see if it works for him. Yeah, so that's the first news story off the top. Just something to grease our gears.
It's good palate warmer.
Grease the news gears. That wasn't worth it. You got something for us?
Let's see if we can continue this very strong segment.
Yeah.
So some Marvel news here. So the Russo brothers, basically the kings of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They're not currently slated to come back to the MCU. But they were interviewed recently on what type of series or what type of movie or storyline they'd want to do if they did come back. And they hinted very heavily, if not outright said, that they were interested in doing something even bigger than Thanos. And it would be the Secret Wars storyline.
Secret Wars?
The Secret Wars.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, one of the most iconic crossover events in Marvel history, involving all of the big players.
Yeah.
And it was, if I'm remembering right, it's been a while. It's basically where this cosmic entity called the Beyonder snags up, who observes the Marvel universe, and then he snags up groups of heroes and supervillains and then teleports them to this battle planet world.
That sounds incredible.
And then the storyline goes from there.
How does Hawkeye play a role in this, I wonder?
Well, it does involve the Avengers, and
Nice.
he is slated, or not slated, but he is a named member of the Avengers at this time.
At this time.
Because the Avengers is, in the comics, it's always this like rotating roster of folks. But at this point in the storyline, these Avengers were Captain America, Hawkeye, Iron Man, She-Hulk, Thor, the Wasp, the Hulk, and a gal known as the second Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, I knew who Monica Rambeau is. She was in the little black girl in the Captain Marvel movie. That's Monica Rambeau, and then she eventually grows up and gets powers like Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how they just love to reuse exact same, not that common names in comic books, like Carol Danvers?
Carol Danvers?
Dude, really,
that's
Marvel?
I feel
really,
like Carol...
DC? I don't know who had it first, but stop it.
You know what?
Or Marvel, like Captain Marvel, isn't that one?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Stop it. Like, I'm sure there's tons of examples, but I don't even want to count all the Marthas. But yeah, that sounds crazy. That sounds so cool. That's huge scale wise.
Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I dig it. Man, the Beyonder.
Because it is going to be curious. How many, like 20 movies or something in the first run of Marvel leading up to Endgame mentioned or were part of that arc that ended with Endgame, and like what is going to be the big arc of the second wave of Marvel?
That's a great question.
Because I mean,
yeah,
you got to imagine it's going to be something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got hints of that arc as early as Phase 1, and yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they know. I'm sure they've got a pretty good plan. By the way, I just want you to know, I Googled a picture of the Beyonder, and then I already cast the role, and it's perfect.
You already did? You already got it?
Yeah, I nailed it.
Let's phone it in. Who is it?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise might be the Beyonder.
He's so perfect for the Beyonder. I feel like he can be like maniacal and menacing, and like I would love to see him play like this crazy powerful villain. He looks a little bit flamboyant and full of himself, judging by his attire, and I think that would fit the role pretty well. And like, yeah, I think Tom Cruise should be the Beyonder.
Yeah, this would be such it's just a neat movie, or like it'd have to be a series of movies.
For sure.
I mean, his alien world is full of alien weapons and technology. It's got like everybody who's anybody. It's got the Avengers. It's got the Fantastic Four. It's got Spider-Man. It's got the X-Men.
This would be so dope.
It's got Magneto, but as like a good guy. It's got Doctor Doom and Ultron. Even Galactus shows up for a minute.
That's so cool. So he just brings people to a battle planet.
Yeah, I believe it was. I believe that it was Secret Wars.
Right.
And
not to be confused with Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is like a invasion of Skrulls on Earth,
pretending to be heroes.
People thought that was about to happen, and then the way Captain Marvel worked out, it kind of doesn't seem like that's where they're going.
Yeah, I kind of wish they had made Captain Marvel about something else, so that was still on the table, because I thought it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I really wish the Captain Marvel movie was just different, because now that's sort of ruled out, and I thought that would have been really cool.
I'm sure they got really good writers over there. I'm sure they could still do it if they wanted to.
Because like that would be cool if they made like, a dozen Marvel movies, and then, in Avengers 6 we find out that, every superhero of the last like 9 movies that have been released were actually all Skrulls.
That'd be a bit heavy, but I get the point.
Right? I mean, it'd have to be woven in and like hinted at, but I think that'd be interesting. But no, it was Secret Wars. When Spider-Man comes back from Secret Wars, he comes back with the alien symbiote attached to him, and that's what leads to Venom.
Oh wow! Dang. So they kind of ruined that already, since they've decided to like have loose links to the Tom Hardy Venom movie.
Yeah.
So they might have ruined the possibility of doing that, but maybe they could still work in the symbiote, since they have a whole symbiote planet and stuff. That's pretty cool though. I mean, I'd be stoked for Secret Wars, especially if those two are doing it. They obviously know how to handle the Marvel stuff. So
yeah,
I'm into it.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
I think if they do that, I hope that it's like maybe there's another massive arc first and then Secret Wars, just so that we have the X-Men and the Fantastic Four well established.
Yeah.
So that, because I don't want it to be like have people missing that are like vital, like we did for Civil War.
Yeah, so. They kind of with Civil War they like really shrunk the scale of it.
They did, for sure.
They had to, because I mean they only had the characters, they had to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure, and they did a great job, honestly, with their limitations. I mean that turned out to be a pretty good movie. And
of course the iconic moment of Civil War is in the comic book is Spider-Man coming out as Peter Parker.
Yep. And
he doesn't do that anywhere in the movies. His identity is still secret.
In the MCU?
Yeah.
It's not a secret.
Isn't it?
No.
He didn't come out.
Yeah.
As Peter Parker.
Well, not by his choice. At the very end of Far From Home.
Oh. I guess I haven't seen that one yet. I think that's
spoilers.
Like the one Marvel movie that slipped through my fingers.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I guess then.
Oh well.
Yeah. So, but it's the way it happens. They could undo it if they wanted to pretty easily. So it's not game breaking in my opinion. But that's pretty cool. I'm very excited for the possibility of that, and for just whatever big story Marvel does next, because I think Marvel manages to make movies that are enjoyable on their own. And the fact that they wove them into a massive story is cool. I think it's unnecessary. I think every Marvel movie just about would have been good enough on its own without tying into Thanos and Infinity Stones and stuff, except for obviously like the last couple Avengers movies. But so the fact that they're so good at making the movies individually and then tying them in,
yeah,
I'm just excited for whatever they got up their sleeve. All right, I got another quick news story for you. It's a bit of a bummer. Sorry to be the one to break this to you, Mark, but
my heart is ready. What is it?
Conjuring 3 is officially delayed till next summer. It's 2021.
I'm really bummed now. I'm a big fan of the Conjuring universe. The Conjuring.
Oh, are you?
Or whatever it's called.
Nice.
Yeah, first one's good.
Isn't The Nun their fault though? I said that like completely joking, thinking you'd be like, okay.
I mean, I think it's all kind of part of the same universe, but same with Annabelle.
The Nun might be the worst movie I've ever seen. It's up there with the worst movie I've ever seen in a theater in my whole life.
The Nun was real bad. I can't believe you actually went to a movie theater to go see it.
I was like, so my coworkers at the time wanted to see that in theaters really bad, and I was like, I don't really even like horror. I've never seen The Conjuring. I don't want to go. And they were like, come on. I was like, I'm not paying money to go watch this movie that I don't care at all about. Mm-mm. But I like you guys. I like hanging out with you guys, but I'm not doing that. And they're like, what if we buy your ticket and your popcorn? I was like, okay, if you pay for the whole thing, sure, I'll go. And they called my bluff and they did it, and they paid for all my stuff. And so I saw The Nun in theaters.
Did you learn your mistake?
Yeah, definitely. But also the only part of it that was worth it was similar to seeing Cats in theaters, is that it was so bad that it was funny. And so we were able to like get a good laugh out of it. And it was a fun experience. But if your goal is to go to the movies and see a good movie, well, yeah, it failed.
I don't think you're really doing yourself doing us a lot of favors on your like your authority as a movie critic, knowing that you paid money, or I guess somebody else paid money for you to go see the Nun, but you actually paid money to go see Cats.
Well, it was part of my Regal Unlimited subscription to go see Cats. Thank you very much. And I never have claimed to be an authority and a movie critic. Movie lover? Sure. Movie critic? No. That's not me. That's why I brought you into the fold, so we can get some real opinions about movies when we need them.
But no, I did. I still do like the first Conjuring, and I think even the second one was good. The first one I really enjoyed. I was thoroughly freaked out by.
Yeah, I know the first couple are like well regarded.
Yeah, they're not like the best horror movies ever made, but I mean they're
good enough.
In a genre that has, a lot of bad entrants every year, they weren't bad.
So tell me, actually, real quick. I think that's it. That's all I got for Conjuring. Just that it's delayed a year. So if you care, I'm sorry. And if you are mean and you hate that movie, then you're happy. But anyways, so I have a different, just overall horror question for you. So like this rise in horror we've seen that kind of started with the first It movie, like as far as being like viable blockbuster potential films again, like there's a clear rise in the horror genre right now, like a big one.
There's definitely the quality is getting better again.
Right.
Obviously, there's still a lot of mediocre and bad ones, but yeah,
the quality is getting better, and that's helping. But do you think that there is any relation to the current administration in the White House and the uptick in horror movies? Like just a lack of faith in the world, just a negative vibe in the country, and then that people are finding this is more appealing than it used to be when I used to be happy.
No.
Do you think that that's a thing or not at all?
Not at all. I mean,
okay.
If we were like in the midst of like a depression or something like that, you might be seeing if we were seeing more like pure escapism movies, then maybe, but even that, like, no, not at all. Because like some of the good ones, like the first It came out, I think, during the previous administration. The Witch,
the first It was during Trump.
Was it?
Yeah, for sure. It was like a year after he won or something. maybe 2 years actually. But I think it was 2017 and 2019 for the 2 It movies, I want to say.
Oh, gotcha.
Or it could be 2018 and 19. I don't know.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of high quality horror movies that are coming out. The Witch was great. I highly recommend anybody watch that. That was on Netflix. Both It movies were really good.
So you think it's mostly just the quality has taken a big leap forward, and that's responsible?
The 2 horror movies that Jordan Peele put out are very, very, very good.
That's true. I think he had a big effect on the genre as a whole and brought it in front of new audiences and stuff. Because including
I just like that he's made it from a different perspective, and I think it's really cool. He's a big H.P. Lovecraft nerd. Nice. There's even a rumor going around, or there's a fan theory going around that his first one, what was it called? What was it?
I don't know why I can't think of it. Brain farting right now.
Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah.
There's a fan theory going around that Get Out is really a like fanfic sequel to one of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories.
Oh wow!
I believe it was the one called The Thing on the Doorstep. That it's his own like fanfic sequel to it, which is really neat.
Nice. That is cool.
And then he is also going to be, I don't know if he's directing or if he's just going to be producing a series on, I think, Amazon called Lovecraft Country that I'm very excited for.
Dang. I mean, I trust him implicitly pretty much, so I'll definitely give it a look, I'm sure. Until he loses my trust, I'm down to just watch whatever he makes.
Yeah, it should be good. I have the book Lovecraft Country. I want to read it. It's about this black dude who I think it takes place in the 50s in like super heavy Jim Crow America, and he is traveling through the Northeast, searching for his dad, and he has to fight 2 different horrors. He has to fight the horror of a super racist backwoods Northeast, and also these otherworldly Lovecraftian terrors,
bits and bobs. That's a hero I can get behind.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've been sitting on this book for like a month and a half, and I just need to open it. It's not the biggest book ever. I just need to open it.
Nice.
And get going. But yeah, there's a lot of. Sorry, kind of a tangent.
No, it's okay.
A lot of highly recommended horror movies out there if you like the genre.
Yeah, it's definitely in a renaissance right now. I'm hoping that we soon see like a comedy renaissance, because we're in the crazy lull right now.
We are
like the amount of like commercially viable like blockbuster comedies that are coming out right now they're so few and far between. It's insane. We used to get like 5 a year that would do 200 million plus each, and like now it's just like nothing.
There's no big comedy stars right now. Like Kevin Hart is still like probably one of the biggest comedy draws.
Yeah, he is really good. A lot of the good comedies are pulling in people that aren't normally comedians to get their butts in seats. Like
Jim Carrey's not the pull he used to be. Will Ferrell's not the pull he used to be.
He still has a lot of star power, but he has lost a little bit, I think. That new movie, by the way, on Netflix of his, Eurovision, was hilarious and awesome.
I do want to see that.
It was really good. Yeah, it was really funny.
I'd also say, I don't want to get too political, but I think a lot of the comedy rules are being rewritten right now by society.
I think that's true. I don't think that's responsible for the lull, but I think it's a valid point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think there might be people that are afraid to go cross certain lines and boundaries when the world is becoming more woke or whatever. So
yeah, stand-up's still doing strong. I mean, Jim Jeffries just put out another great stand-up bit. Bill Burr's still crushing it.
Yeah.
So stand-up hasn't slowed down, but I don't think that.
I think that it's
stand-up comedians don't give a rat's ass about woke culture or any
No, they just because they have a medium where they can explain what they want to say if they need to, or like it's all the context you need is there in your joke, and like it can't really be misconstrued because it's long form conversational type of comedy.
Yeah.
But I will say that this all kind of still fits my theory. I think the country is sad right now, and so it wants horror movies and it doesn't want comedies.
See, I would almost think that we would be seeing like
the opposite,
like more sci-fi movies or more like what was it like when we were constantly at war in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. I mean, like the war movies per capita per year were just like outrageous. We probably haven't seen war movies come out at such a quick clip since like right after World War II.
Yeah.
You know, I'd surprised we're not seeing more like Civil War or like future Civil War movies, or
for sure, dude. They're
all these other like everybody likes to be doomsday-ish, so I'm
just
surprised
like
direct
that we're not commentaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. That is a little surprising. I think that in like 10 years we're gonna get like quarantine movies and like virus movies and stuff.
They did The Purge like 2 and 3, and they were not subtle about their inspirations for the stories. But I mean, those movies were not good either.
Yeah. Nice. But anyways, do you have any more news stories for us?
Let's see. I had with the Snyder Cut coming out, there's apparently a swath of Suicide Squad fans who want the Ayer's cut to be released.
Oh, I've heard this.
I don't think that movie could be made any better by any cut.
By the way, I feel like we almost need like to give the Snyder Cut its own segment, because there's like every time I look up news for this show each week, there's some new detail or screenshot or rumor about the Snyder Cut, and I'm just like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as what you just said about the Ayer cut, I thought Suicide Squad needs a whole lot more than a new cut.
Yeah, it's just like, cut it from the canon and redo it.
I think you could cut down like a 30-minute. If you go down to 30 minutes and you make it a short episode of a like a show, just a 30-minute movie. Screw it. Invent a new movie length that's 30 minutes long and be done with it. I think you can get something good out of 30 minutes out of this movie.
Yeah.
But
like super cut.
Yeah, you'd have to ignore the main crux of the film, which is, well, we don't want to endanger soldiers, so we're going to get criminals to do our dirty work. Okay, I buy that. That's what the Suicide Squad is in the comics, and it's a really cool, unique idea. Awesome, let's go. Also, we're going to send a huge group of soldiers with them. What? That alone, that's like the only kind of thing about it. Like it has other problems, but that's the biggest one for me where I'm like, wait a minute. So the whole reason you put the team together is like null and void, right? Like you're not trying to keep your soldiers safe at all. Like I guess part of it is they need more people more powerful than soldiers to deal with those threats. But a big point they make is keeping our soldiers safe, and then they send 80 of them to their death.
I like how every single one of the villains, the main villains, as part of the Suicide Squad, they basically get like a long form introduction, almost to the point where it takes up like half the movie just introducing everybody. Yeah. And then right when they get on the plane or the helicopter to be deployed, there's all of a sudden like the writers forgot about the lady with the soul-eating samurai sword. Yeah. And so they had they had Joel Kinnaman's character say like, "Oh yeah, and then here's this person. Her sword devours the souls."
Careful around that sword.
It's just like an 8-second introduction for a character when everybody else has gotten like 15 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, they went super anime with it, super exposition, just like, oh, this is exactly what that does. Now you know. Okay, cool, next.
And there's the guy who
explodes immediately.
Who's introduced as being able to climb anything, and then he dies while climbing.
Yeah. Before the movie came out, everything I listened to that talked about movie trailers and stuff was like, that dude is easily the first to explode, guaranteed. Because like he wasn't in the marketing material in the same way. Like he's barely in the trailer, Everyone's just like, yeah, we know he's like, they have to set an example, like, we will blow your head off if you disobey us. And everyone knew from the jump that it was going to be Slipknot. I can't believe I just remembered his name.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. That movie had a lot of cool stuff in it and introduced us to Harley Quinn, which I think is an awesome character portrayed well by Margot Robbie. But it also had some massive problems. And if you guys want to see the best take I've ever seen on that movie, just Google Suicide Squad Jenny Nicholson. It's easily the best YouTube video, the best take I've ever seen or heard on Suicide Squad. It's her pretending to be the producers, like reading the script to someone. Like, oh, so here's what's going to happen. And then having her like comment on, like, but wait, aren't we trying to keep the soldiers safe? Like, yeah, it's incredible. So Jenny Nicholson, Suicide Squad, it has a ton of views. It should be easy to find, but it's very worth your time. Nice. Well, yeah, maybe we'll get the Ayer cut. Maybe not. Whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm actually excited to watch the Snyder cut, but I don't know. I mean, I could still take or leave the Snyder cut, but I'm definitely gonna watch it when it comes out. So, anyways, well, should we get into the main topic of the day?
Let's do it.
Cool. All right, me and Mike, we watched another incredible 90s action film. Barely 90s. 1990 exactly, to be precise.
Yep.
We watched another old school action film with wonderful practical effects and whatnot, and that was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall.
Yeah, that was a great one.
It was super good. So yeah, we'll start it off with a brief synopsis, and then we'll go into it a little further. But here you go. Douglas Quaid is haunted by a recurring dream about a journey to Mars. He hopes to find out more about this dream and buys a holiday at Recall, where they sell implanted memories. But something goes wrong with the memory implantation, and he remembers being a secret agent fighting against the evil Mars administrator Cohagen. Now the story really begins, and it's a roller coaster ride until the massive end of the movie. That's so stupid. That's what they wrote. I read that verbatim off IMDb. Until the massive end of the movie.
God, that's so bad.
Oh, God. All right. So, yeah, this movie. Yeah, I have notes. I actually took notes this time, and it was actually really fun to take notes.
Have you ever taken notes during a movie?
No, I don't think so.
Wow, you're taking this whole podcasting thing pretty serious then.
I know.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I mean, I care. I want the content to be quality for people. So anyways, there's larger concepts I want to talk about later. But yeah, let's jump right into it. Dennis Quaid, Arnold Schwarzenegger, living his life in his super futuristic apartment.
Yeah, and oh my gosh. Dude, I forgot how much of a bombshell Sharon Stone was.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible in this film, particularly that fight scene, post-fight scene moments. Yep. Yeah, she's notable. But yeah, I didn't even know that was her for a long time. Like, I think maybe until now. Like, I rewatched it and I saw Sharon Stone in the 3.5 minute long opening credits. That's not a hyperbole, you guys. That's how long the opening credits are.
Yeah, be prepared. Make sure, like, start your popcorn. Like, don't sit down with your popcorn. Like, start the popcorn as you start the movie, and then by the time your popcorn's done and it's cooled down, the movie will be on.
And it's cooled down, for sure. Literally, go start the movie. Think about what you want to eat with the movie. For me, popcorn takes about 2.5 minutes, all said. So, plan accordingly. You got time. Anyways, so long credits, and I saw Sharon Stone's name in there, and then along with probably my name, everyone's name. There's a lot of names.
Yeah, but it's not very often where you see like the costume designer and the set designer and like the director of photography. Yeah, all in the opening credits. It's pretty rare, but I mean, it's also pretty common in this era, just with long opening credits.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I'm kind of down for movies to have long credits, just because those people deserve their due. Like the costume designers and like the people behind the scenes a little bit, like they deserve their due. And so for the very small handful of people that will see that name and be like, oh, she's the costume designer, and then look her up and be like, or him up and be like, oh, they did this. Oh, I love that. Like what, that's cool. And I think it's worth it because we all can just skip it or chill for a couple minutes.
It's always important to me to know who the gaffer and the best boy is, because that's how you know what's a good movie.
Yeah, you can always tell if so-and-so has gaffed that movie.
Dude, the gaffer's important.
Yeah, who gaffed this movie, you think?
Dude, I don't know. Probably some guy named Mark.
That's canon. We're going to go with that. But yeah, Sharon Stone showed up in the credits, and I was like, oh, that is Sharon Stone. And it just made me realize that she has played such a small role in my personal viewing history that I just didn't even like ever connect those dots.
Yeah.
But she's great in it.
Yeah. So this is a great movie, and I think it kind of contrasts well with Demolition Man, because Demolition Man is just like this big spectacle. It's this big spectacle, and but like once you start trying to peel away the layers, it sort of starts to fall apart. Yeah. But this movie, Total Recall, it's so good. It's like it is one of the best sci-fi movies, because the twist at the end, I think the movie's made well enough that the twist at the end, there really is no right answer whether he had, if it was all in his head or if it was all real. And
don't even start with me.
There's no right answer, and I think they deliberately did it that way. You could rationalize it both ways very well.
No, you can't. It's real.
It's
we'll get into it when we get to the end. I have my thoughts about it, but that's just because I don't like ambiguous endings one bit. I can't stand them. But they do that very effectively. Like if they set out and that was the goal, which I'll have my thoughts on, but they did it very effectively, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think of the world building? That's my favorite thing in movies in general. So let's talk about our world building a bit. They show up in his apartment. First of all, how far into the future do we have to be? Does it tell us the year even?
I don't remember it telling us the year, but we're clearly pretty far off into the future since people are just doing leisure trips to Mars.
Yeah. It has to be like... So this says 2084. Now explain something to me, Mike.
Sure.
How in 2084 does his house look like a normal house with a big screen TV instead of a window? And like the cabs, like the Johnny cab, like that's the great. Cars are just the same. Like it's
that's great.
Or here's something I wrote down. I have some notes that I wrote down called failed future, and it's things that these movies, and I'm glad we waited until we watched this one too, so we have a couple examples. Just completely people failed to imagine this part of the future. One of those is screens. HD, no one could imagine a crystal clear screen ever. Every futuristic screen you've ever seen is either a standard definition, boxy, terrible, old school looking screen, or it's a hologram. That's it. For all these old action movies that take place in the future, they're like, well, things are either going to stay exactly the same or become holograms, I think. And so I just think it's interesting they missed the boat on that one. And then the other thing I have is non-compact tech. So like you go back to Demolition Man and he had that like little advice gun that he was holding that was like approach the suspect and blah blah blah. And it was humongous. And then you go to this one and that super weird henchman is running around with this enormous tracking gun. And it's like it's so funny to think that we couldn't even imagine that technology being like compact and small and like how technology has become already.
Yeah. I do like they're walking X-ray screen. Like that was pretty futuristic.
That was really good actually. That's actually a fun fact about the movie is that it was one of the first major Hollywood blockbusters to use CGI and have it look, quote, photoreal. And it was that scene that you're referring to with like that sweet X-ray machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool. They did a good job of that. And that is a good example of like future tech that we don't currently utilize or maybe don't have or somewhere in the middle. That yeah, it looks really neat. I like that.
Yeah, that was really neat.
But
yeah, it's super common. And, you know, like in the 80s when all these movies are being thought up and filmed and stuff, the tech back then is so blocky and massive that they can't imagine a smaller world. Whereas, I mean, take a look at some of the flashier examples of sci-fi that's more modern, like the new Star Treks, and like how bright he makes the inside of the starship, and like these massive touch screens, you know, that just like envelop people. It's gonna be when reality is actually much more boring. I mean, you see what spaceships actually do look like. You know, they're never gonna look like that.
No, for sure. At least they missed out on touchscreens pretty much in this era.
They did.
They're like, no, buttons. You need buttons. How do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? How do you change the volume? You have to have a button. What are you talking about? And it's like flash forward 10 years after this movie, and there are products available in stores with touchscreens on them.
Yeah.
Maybe 2000. If they were bad, but
yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So how about that chase scene? How about that henchman in general? Just like some guy that he probably met at Radio Shack, apparently, that's got some baggy khakis and big old glasses. Just a dude. Like nothing henchman-y or scary about him other than his tenacity.
You talking about Michael Ironside?
No, Michael Ironside's not a... Michael Ironside, he was in Starship Troopers, which we also recently...
Oh, you're talking about his henchman.
The little... Yeah, the glasses wearing...
Little squirrely-looking dude.
Little baggy khaki guy.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I love this scene. It's so ridiculous where they're chasing him and he's tracking the rat that has the tracker.
Yeah.
And he's like running around the room and he's just like pointing the tracker and then just like shooting into the darkness.
And then everyone blindly shoots with him.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, that's 40 feet away from you. You would see him if he were there. What are you doing?
It's not a good look for such good bad guys.
Yeah, so it's a bad day for ammo consumption.
Yeah, I do like the world building. I think they do a good job with how everything looks. Really, it's consistent, and the advertisements are ridiculous, and everything fits.
I agree. I think they nailed it on the world building. Like, obviously, I mentioned some inconsistencies in tech, but that's not a fault of the design of the world. That's just like the reality of people's mindset at the time and what they thought of the future. But as far as the rest of it goes, I thought it was amazing.
It's pretty consistent.
And like,
which is important.
It was really, really good. Do we feel good about this being 2084? Because Demolition Man, we were like, no, it needs to be 100 years later. But I feel like that I'm okay with it. It still seems a little quick to be like chill vacations to Mars and people living there, but
yeah. Well,
generations of like mutated people and stuff, but
yeah, it's 2084 I'm fine with.
Yeah. We'll allow it. We'll allow you to continue what you've done.
Yeah, I feel like Demolition Man, they should have made it like 200 years into the future and nothing would have changed about that movie, but it would have made more sense.
Yeah, for sure. I also saw a funny thing while they were on Mars. In relation to world building, there was a cooler full of straight Pepsi, just current 1990 cans of Pepsi.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh god. Which honestly might stick around. Putting beverages in a can is still a pretty dang good way to do it. So,
yeah.
Especially because when we're responsible, we can recycle those cans, and so that one might hold up actually, and. In addition, with people going back to retro logos all the time, I feel like that exact looking can will probably show up again at some point. like for a long period of time, because we're always like, design is always taking a few steps forward and then a few steps back and then a couple steps forward and a few steps back. So pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my notes literally say, henchman, just some nerd in baggy khakis.
I thought Michael Ironside was a great bad guy. I mean, I wish he was in more movies.
Oh, he is amazing. Yeah, he's so good. Michael Ironside is the guy in this in the leather jacket telling our Radio Shack nerd what to do.
Yeah, the balding guy with the super intense voice.
Yeah, he's just a really intense character. Everything about him.
I would love like an audiobook narrated by Michael Ironside.
Oh, that would be great. What book?
I don't.
Starship Troopers.
Any of them? Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Any book, literally any book.
That's awesome. Oh man. Yeah. So, anyways, the chase scene is really cool. The Total Recall place itself is very interesting. I like the receptionist girl that's doing her nails by like tapping on them with a stylus and changing the color of them and just like, no, I don't like this one. I'll try this one. Yeah. I thought that was a cool little futuristic world building detail.
Yeah, that was a good little moment. And she just kind of goes back to doing it. I could see something like that happen where you could get like digitized paint or something that will change the color properties. With like,
it already exists. They've done testing on paint that they paint onto a wall and then they stick like this circuit on that wall, and it delivers data to the paint, and whatever material they're using, they can get like rudimentary images and stuff like that. We're already working on that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So if you can get it to like the way she was doing it, if that brief moment of connectivity from the stylus hitting her nail, I can't believe we've gone this far into this lady and her nails, but if that brief moment is all it takes to like give a little surge of electricity and direction to the paint on her nails, like that's viable.
That's totally viable.
But yeah, that paint on screens is cool technology to Google if you guys are interested. But that part of it's really cool. I like all the plants they have in his life, like the construction worker buddy. That kind of sucks though. Like that guy has two jobs. He has one job is he works for whatever Cohagen's company is, and then his other job is he has to have a real job with Dennis Quaid.
See, I see what you're doing.
Wait, did I say Dennis Quaid? Douglas Quaid.
I see what you're doing. So you're pushing hard from the narrative that all of this was absolutely real. That Quaid is Hauser is Quaid, and this all definitely was 100% real.
I'm all in on that, and my evidence for it is that at the end of the movie when he says, "I just had a terrible thought. What if this is all a dream?" And she's like, well, then you better kiss me or whatever she says. Him saying that would be terrible for it to not be real is basically the director's saying, like, that would be terrible of us to make a movie about something that's not real.
No. What? I think you're reaching there, my dude.
Oh, yeah, I totally am. But I don't like things that aren't real at all. I don't have it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want it to all be real, because if it's all real, then it's interesting, and if it's not, then who cares?
Because it's still a cool story.
But that's my own just like personal take on imaginary things in movies, and like, is it real? Is it not? Like Inception, he was back in the real world at the end of the movie. You saw the top wiggle, just barely. That's enough for me. He came back to reality.
Yeah.
Like. And
personally,
also, I mean, ambiguous is frustrating
like
because
just kept it spinning.
I guess I don't care. Like if people want to say it was a dream, then you can say it was a dream. But I'm going with, to me, it was all real except for where he was having a dream, where he's shown having a dream. He's having a dream.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like it's not like your opinion is wrong. I think they made the movie so well that you could put up very spirited defenses to both sides. and you can come away with the movie, from the movie thinking either and not really being wrong.
One thing that's interesting about it, if you choose to believe it's all real, is that Hauser, this movie's about a guy that's a military or whatever jerkwad that agrees to have his personality changed to pull off some trick to get these bad guys or whatever in their eyes. And then what happens is the creation just steals his own body. Like, it's so weird to think about. Like,
yeah, and
you agree to get your personality changed, and you never get your body back, and your own personality dies forever.
It's kind of a big.
Like,
it's kind of a big like leap that the director that like you have to take watching the movie. I don't know if it's a big leap, but like, it's kind of a tall order to think that there was this. Not only did this guy infiltrate the resistance, but then volunteered to have his mind erased, and that this other guy, his new personality, would be able to jump through all the hoops to get everything done so that he could get his body back and nothing bad would happen to it. It's kind of a tall... And then if that is the case, right, who's Dennis Quaid? Like...
Douglas Quaid.
Who is Douglas Quaid? Is he a computer program? Is he like a computer generated personality? Is he
is he Hauser with some tweaks, just like some sliders adjusted?
Or is he somebody else's personality, like they mentioned right at the beginning of the movie, or not at the beginning, but when his construction worker friend mentions that somebody else had been lobotomized at Recall, did he get that guy's personality? So if it's all real, there's still a lot of really interesting things because, like, yeah, for real, who is Douglas Quaid if it's not Hauser anymore? Is it like an android brain or android soul or personality or something? Like, it's not.
Yeah, and
it's
it also
no longer
opens
him.
Up,
it's no longer Hauser. Who the heck is it?
Yeah. It brings up another interesting question, and something I wish had happened is that we got a sequel to this in like 1992. I don't want it now, but it would have been cool back then if they would have taken this concept and been like, guess what? Hauser's brain was not deleted. They saved it for when he would return. So that means they could put his personality in a different
and they put
body,
his personality into like Sylvester Stallone's body?
Exactly, and there's your villain for the second movie. That would have been
or like
dope.
Bring in Jean-Claude Van Damme. That would have been great. That would have been.
Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme would have been so cool as just like this pissed off Hauser Terminator. Yeah. So, anyways, that side of it is all. It's so cool and so crazy, and the Earth stuff is cool. The world building is pretty basic on Earth, but pretty good. Very industrial. Like the buildings are like just concrete slabs, and
the
Johnny
Cabs
Cabs
are really
wonderful.
The sets are really cool.
Yeah, very cool. This movie was also one of the last major Hollywood blockbusters to go all in on miniatures. It's another fun fact for you.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason the sets look so cool. They're large scale, or to have large scale use of miniatures, I should say. But and then him getting to he goes to Mars now, and he's disguised as that woman per the instructions in the briefcase that was given to him by the man that called him after he went to Recall and went off the deep end.
See, if this is all real, there's so many freaking
planted that man.
Tiny little hoops to jump through, and he has to nail it perfectly.
It's an insane plan.
If one thing goes wrong, the whole plan's off. That's why I'm thinking, like...
Yeah, but these brains, to them in this future, like, the mind is something we know exactly how to manipulate however we want. So that means they have tools. They've been in his head before. So they put that personality in there. So they know exactly how to react to certain situations more or less.
But they didn't tell Michael Ironside's character the full truth.
No, they needed someone just to blindly follow orders.
Like, what if at any point something... Like, what if Douglas Quaid tripped? And then, boom, Michael Ironside has him. movie's over.
if he tripped down the stairs. And then
Right, like it just takes
Very
one.
True.
Takes one leg cramp and the movie ends.
But at the same time, it wasn't a vital plan. From Cohagen's perspective, he wanted to get to Quado or Quado, or they say it multiple different ways in the movie, I noticed. But he wanted to get to them and get to the rebels on Mars, and he wanted to do it through this insanely confusing plan, which later in the movie they just like drill through walls until they find him. But so maybe it could have led with that. But anyways, it's a crazy plan to do what it does, but it also doesn't really have to happen because they're not posing an immediate threat to that like alien site, and like no one's trying to push that button. So it's like I wonder if he put this plan in motion, like, look, if this works, it'll solve this thing that's bugging me. If it doesn't, I'll find another way to get it done. And this one worked.
I mean, and they clearly have the ability to shut off oxygen to parts of the planet.
Parts of the
dome, parts of the civilization. So they could have just kept cycling oxygen until they killed him.
Yep, they definitely could have. Anyways, but him getting there, they passed the X-ray thing, so dope. He's in this costume as this woman. Practical effects for the win once again. Oh my gosh,
the practical effects in this movie are so good.
They're so good. The amount of mechanical robot Arnold faces in this movie is just enough to make you so happy.
I know.
It's so.
And they're pretty. They're not so bad. Good. They're not bad.
They're not bad. Luckily, he has one of the most cartoony faces in the world, so it's like probably easier than other like more nuanced, normal-looking faces to mimic. But
I don't know if it would work as well.
Yeah,
with somebody else's
so
face.
Good. When he puts when he takes the brain bug out of his head. And it's just like it transitions into this like this animatronic Arnold head, and he's like, like shaking. It's so good. It's so good.
And it transitions like without cutting away from like his face to the puppet face back to his face. It is really good.
This movie makes me a little bit mad at CGI, because if CGI never came along, then practical effects would have kept advancing by leaps and bounds, and where would they be now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but at the end of the day, it's about money, and they want to do crazy things for less money, and there's probably a lot of really amazing things we never would have gotten without CGI. But I just wish that hopefully we end up in a place where we go back to using practical effects really often and only use CGI when we need to, because when you strike that balance, it's wonderful.
I mean, some directors still like them.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's a notable one.
Like the Lord of the Rings still hold up almost 20 years later, because there's just tons of great miniature and practical effects there.
Jurassic Park holds up perfectly still 25 years later, more than 25 years later. But yeah, the mechanical CGI or the mechanical physical heads in this movie are dope. The woman whose head expands to reveal an Arnold head inside of it.
That was a great shot.
I don't know how that.
Such a great shot.
Yeah. So good.
I also like.
Imagine how big that woman's head must have been to fit a whole person's head inside of it, though. Especially Arnold's big head.
I also like the shot of Benny, the taxi driver, when he reveals his mutant hand. Like, that was pretty off-putting.
Yes.
That was very off-putting, but like in a good way. Like it's really well done. This creeps me the heck out.
Yeah, it was super good. He's like, "Look, I'm one of you," and then he's just like got these like long like finger claw things like coming from his elbow. Like, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, getting to Mars, very cool. His cover gets blown just as they knew it would. Everything's going to plan. Yeah, and then he ends up at the bar, where we meet probably the most memorable character in the movie, the three-boobed
lady,
employee. Yeah, they get there. I forgot how many times they use that gag or whatever you want to call it. Like, because she shows up and she's like, oh, hey, you want to have fun? And here's my 3 boobs. And it's like, oh, whoa. And like the first time you see that, it's like, oh, that's an option? What the heck? Like, it's like very interesting. But I didn't realize they show it like, because then Benny's in there playing with her boobs. And then later on, like the bad guys show up and she's like, here, look at all my boobs. And it's just like, oh, wow, they really milked this more than I remembered.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I think they were on screen 3 times before she was killed.
Yeah, for sure. Which again, what's his face that killed her? I forgot his name already.
Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside. Yeah, Richter is his name in the thing, but we're just gonna call him Michael Ironside. When he's so brutal, dude, he goes in, he just shoots her, dude. Like after she turns away too, like he's just such an intense, crazy, brutal dude.
0 F's given.
And that was before he was mad about his wife, lover, girlfriend, whatever, getting killed.
Yep.
Like that, he was already that tilted. Yeah,
we get
so they show up.
We get the good bar scene, and then he meets Melina. Was that Melinda? Melina?
Yeah, Melina. Yeah.
Melina.
Like the wrestler. Also at the bar though, like we meet some of the other along the way we meet some of these mutants and stuff, and I want to know your thoughts on old Cooterface, the dude that just has a vagina right in the middle of his face.
Oh, with the side of his head like looking like it's been melted in a frying pan.
Yeah.
That guy, do you know who that is?
No.
That is he was in Starship Troopers. He was the commander during Rico's boot camp. What
he was? That's that guy?
That's that guy. Shoot, why am I forgetting his name? Dean Norris. That's Dean Norris.
Dean Norris, okay.
Of Breaking Bad fame. He's a DEA agent in Breaking Bad. Like, that's him. That's Dean Norris. That's young Dean Norris.
Oh, you're right.
Underneath that crazy makeup.
That's crazy. I remember seeing that and just for the first time, and then even again, watching it again, it's pretty gross. Like, I think if I grew up in a society where this was more normal, I'd probably, no one's freaking out about it. Like, they're walking by each other. It's not a big deal. But, that'd be a tough one to not
me,
react
it's not as
person.
bad as the grown-up lady who's, holding a little girl's hand who just has, a demon over half of her face.
Yeah. Or even the back of his own head. The back of his head might be worse than the front of his head. It's just a crevasse that leads right to his brains. But, yeah, so the designs, the character designs in this and the mutant designs I think are really well done and very interesting. Yeah. Quato's another nasty little freak.
Yeah.
He's just wait, what?
Absolutely. Also, great animatronics on him too.
Very good. Especially on the lips. It wasn't perfect, him speaking, but it was close enough that I was very impressed, especially for 1990. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Someday we're gonna have all these practical effects come back into play because we're gonna make these adult theme parks. Theme parks are already becoming more suitable for adults by adding all these more adult themed rides and stuff. But someday I want a place where I can go experience Starship Troopers, Demolition Man, Total Recall. I want rides and stuff and experiences based on this stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see, what else?
Let's see.
I
have a couple more notes, but it's stuff that's more about the ending of it. So
I did really leading right up to the end of the movie. They're doing a long shot of the reactor, and it's probably a 20 or 30 second long shot. And I remember watching it, least. And T.O. was watching it with me, and I pointed, I was like, this shot is incredible. I didn't think they could do shots like this. I mean, it's going from matte painting to miniature to close up back to matte painting all in this one long extended shot that is, is trivial in this day and age with CGI.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool, kind of selling the size of it all.
The scale of that machine or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was really cool. How do you feel? So I wrote down, I have another note about a really funny line that Cohagen says.
Yeah.
Where he's like, and he's really well acted. Like Ronnie Cox is the guy that played him, and he's been in a number of things that you've probably seen before. I know he was in Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh yeah, he's a pretty familiar guy.
But
pretty recognizable.
Yeah, I love him. But so he says something to the effect of like I'll do this and be home in time for cornflakes.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what? Like that's your go-to? Like that's how you're gonna end your badass line is home in time for cornflakes.
Yeah. They did a pretty good job of he did a pretty good job of selling that character really as just being very ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
And him and Ironside, Michael Ironside.
I forgot how short of a time Quado and his host, like how short he was actually on screen.
Play a role. Yeah.
He's on screen for like a minute.
Pretty much just, yeah. He has a quick chat.
Yeah. They
fill him full of lead.
Quaid.
And then...
Start the reactor. It's just the iconic line of the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So good.
And man, what a brutal, like, I know it was like this little animatronic puppet head, but when Quado gets like shot in the dome, that's like violent.
They show it.
So violent.
They do. They show like his head explodes with blood. Oh man. So I remember that.
So violent. I love it's. I mean, one of the things that makes this such a great sci-fi movie is that they really nail the science fiction. They really nail the greater questions about like there's morality in this movie with like trying to suffocate the mutants and destroying this life-giving machine, but then also contrasting that with just nailing the ultra-violence and the gore.
Yep. Totally.
It's so good. It's been years since I'd watched this movie, and I'm glad I did. This is definitely one of my top 10 favorite sci-fi movies, and not as like a joke. Like this is a really good movie.
No, this is genuinely a great movie. I love this movie. I did write on here. I wrote on my notes: Attack of the Oxygen Clouds. You remember when they start the scene?
Yeah.
And the oxygen's like filling up the atmosphere, and they're just like it's just like 15 separate shots of oxygen clouds like attacking the building and like blowing up glass.
Right.
it's very funny.
Like what is the pressure of those clouds?
It gets the point across, but yeah, very, very high.
Also, let's talk about for a second about how fragile the glass is on a Mars base.
Yeah. When he's like, don't shoot. You chose not bulletproof glass.
Yeah, how is that glass not like how's that glass not like 6 feet deep? Like 6 feet thick?
Yeah, for real.
How is that not
that is all there is between us and immediate death.
How is that not like 6 feet of fucking like bulletproof plexiglass or something?
Yeah.
Anywho, that was probably the one. I mean, obviously, in a movie full about like Mars, people living on Mars, of course, there's going to be inconsistencies, but that one seems pretty obvious. So
It does. No one would have used just regular household glass.
Yeah, like that glass is weaker than my windshield. You can't even shatter a windshield with a bullet that easily. It'll just
yeah. Oh man. I also wrote this other thing. It says, "Today I learned Oxygen volcanoes produce thunder and lightning storms and perfectly replicate Earth's atmosphere in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that checks out.
Exactly. So they got that right. That's one of the details they got right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they terraformed the planet in a few minutes
right. By vaporizing
good to go.
One glacier. So what happens when they breathe all that oxygen? Because there are no plants to convert the carbon dioxide that people are going to breathe out back into oxygen. So
touche, Mike. Touche.
This pretty short-sighted.
They bought themselves a couple weeks.
Pretty short-sighted. Hopefully there's other oxygen volcanoes that they can explode in a couple months down the road.
Yeah, they need like carbon dioxide volcanoes to balance it out. But they're vaporizing the core of the planet continuously forever. So that's a questionable tactic, I think, as well.
Right. Well, and not to mention that like oxygen is not air. People do not breathe pure oxygen.
No. Yeah.
Like our I think what is our atmosphere, like 70% nitrogen or something like that?
In the 80s and 90s we just breathed straight oxygen, but then we switched.
So all these people are just going to get a massive dose of pure oxygen. Also,
yep.
Like, okay, so they're vaporizing it. So they're really just vaporizing it. So they show it as them turning the ice into steam, which is just vaporized water, which would condense and then rain back down, releasing... I'm not a chemist, so...
No, but I feel like it's a good guess.
But, like, so they're just vaporizing the water into water droplets that would condense and then rain back down, but none of it would be released as air or oxygen.
What would happen? Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe they're doing like a nuclear reaction there, like
maybe there's like
maybe this is where Elon Musk got his idea about nuking Mars's poles to release the oxygen.
He was watching Total Recall while he was high. He was like, you know what?
He's pretty active on Twitter. I'll ask him.
Yeah. Also, the exploding Cohagen head was fantastic.
Yeah.
Another amazing practical effect. And then there's maybe a little bit of an inconsistency between how long it took for his head to become to go past the point of no return. Compared to Arnold and Molina, they were able to fight off the Martian atmosphere a little longer than he was.
Right.
But I'm just going to chalk that up to weak character.
Yeah, he's just a dick.
Bad morality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of low constitution.
Yeah. Like, I like to imagine if my eyeballs expanded and popped out of my head and...
There's no coming back from that.
My tongue started to blow up and fill up my mouth, that a couple good breaths of oxygen would take care of that and I'd feel fine. I just want to smooch.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, if you were Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you had his constitution.
That's true.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's true. I think the oxygen was for everybody else. He was just about to figure out this whole Martian atmosphere thing before the oxygen showed up anyways. He's about to be walking around just fine.
Schwarzenegger has a... If Schwarzenegger was a D&D character, he'd have a maxed out strength and a maxed out constitution and probably a maxed out charisma.
Definitely. That would be an OP D&D character, which fits. Yeah, great movie though, man. I love this movie. Yeah, it was so good. Even like the Total Recall thing, like the actual recall place with all their options and stuff and packages and the salesmanship of the guy and like the whole used car dealer vibes and like
it
was so good. Like it was fantastic. I will ask you this though. How many Johnny Cabs out of 7 Johnny Cabs are you giving this one?
Oh, this is a 7 Johnny Cab out of 7.
I think you're right. I think we're on a roll with picking great films.
It's like I'm saying, this is upon rewatching Demolition Man last week, I still love it, but it's not as good as I remember.
Yeah.
This movie is better than I remembered it. I kind of remembered it for all of the like the tropes and the jokes and the obnoxious, like exploding eyeballs and the three boobed lady and the melted face alien guy, and Quado. Like I remembered it for its kind of its memeier things, but it's a really good movie. It's way better than I remember.
It's a really good movie. So I don't generally have any hate towards reboots and remakes. I think they show up too soon often. Like I think there should be like a 30-year minimum hiatus on a reboot. But like when they announced that they were doing a reboot, I was really excited. And then they announced the cast, and other than not caring too much about Kate Beckinsale, like I thought, okay, I'm excited about this. And then the more details came out, it was like, oh, it won't take place on Mars. It won't be like, and immediately once I found out it doesn't take place on Mars, I was like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, I gotta be honest.
And it did.
I didn't see all of it. I saw part of it. And I do kind of want to watch it just to say so, but yeah, I feel like it's.
I bought it, so
yeah.
If you want to borrow it, let me know.
I think it's also free.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I think it's on Xfinity or something.
It's interesting. Like the way they get from one side of the planet to the other is pretty cool. They like shoot themselves through the middle of the planet. But like
personally, I think that
just
you shouldn't reboot great movies. If you want to, I'm fine with you keep rebooting bad movies until you get them right. Like I know they're doing a reboot of Logan's Run. Like the first one was not good. Reboot the shit out of that. What was another one that we had talked about? But just feel free to just keep rebooting bad movies until you get one right. But
yeah,
don't reboot good movies. Rule of thumb. Like I will.
That's.
I'll never be okay with the Lord of the Rings reboot. I'll never be okay with like Star Wars: The Original Trilogy reboot.
Harry Potter reboot.
I'll never be okay with I just had one in my head. But yeah, like great movies, don't reboot them. Don't reboot them.
Drop Dead Fred.
Don't
touch it.
Don't remake them. If anything, just make a sequel to it, a not well thought out sequel 20 years down the road that doesn't vibe well. But like don't remake it or reboot it. Unless it's like 100 years down the road and that they're literally unwatchable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Do you think it'll be 100 years? Because movies are still new enough that we don't have great examples of like for example, anything that was made before 1975 is probably pretty hard to get into and enjoy when it comes to like sci-fi action type of stuff.
I mean, it takes a different like attitude watching them,
and that's right around 50 years. So maybe 50 years is a good.
There's still some great movies that were
just
made in the
people,
60s.
But the people that watch the movies, we are the ones that are changing so much. Like our sensibilities and what we find entertaining is always evolving and changing. So like someone, even showing a kid the original Star Wars trilogy now, like there's going to be a lot of parts of it where it moves too slow for them and they're not into it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't reboot Star Wars in the year 2027 because we never let it die. If you only made the original trilogy and that's the only Star Wars films that were ever made and someone wanted to reboot it 50 years later, I think you'd probably have a decent amount of support for that idea.
Yeah.
But to us, Star Wars became this ongoing massive juggernaut that never left our lives, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff is getting rebooted way too fast.
Well, it's because Hollywood.
And like you said, I do agree. I agree with don't reboot good movies. Like we already have a good one.
Yeah. And this is
let's watch that one.
This could be like an entire podcast, but yeah, I think a lot of it is just
for sure.
Hollywood doesn't have any original ideas anymore, so they're rebooting everything. Yeah. Everything's being rebooted or ripped from books, and
The ideas are there. They're just afraid of them.
Movies,
so they don't make them.
Movies and the volume of movies made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was really high. But a lot of them were pretty original. Yeah. Like 2001: A Space Odyssey came out in 1968. You probably could do a remake of it, but I don't think it would be as good. There's something like you can't remake a Kubrick movie and still have it be anything remotely similar. It's just going to be like a shinier version of it, or it's just an entirely different movie.
Yeah,
I'd prefer they make original movies. But like I said, keep remaking bad movies until you get them right. Like I'm really excited for the new Dune. Like the old Dune is hard to watch.
It is, and I'm very excited for a new Dune as well. So that's a good example of what seems like a smart reboot. Do you want to hear some fun facts?
Sure.
So apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was so impressed with Sharon Stone's dedication and training for her character that he referred to her as female Terminator. And she was inducted into the Stunt Woman Association as an honorary member. So she took it very seriously and worked very hard to be able to be awesome in this movie. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Towards the end of filming in Mexico, Paul Verhoeven got so sick from food poisoning that he would have an ambulance nearby on set at all times. In between takes, the paramedics would administer fluids and medication so that he could keep directing in spite of his illness. That's insane.
Wow.
To get food poisoning that bad, and then, that's crazy. Let's see. Coca-Cola is the only advertised soft drink on Earth, and on Mars, we only see ads for Pepsi. That's interesting. So there's the franchise wars. These are all connected universes, obviously, right? So Pepsi ended up on the moon. Coke got Earth.
Here's a fun fact for you.
Here's a very...
Here's a fun fact for you. Apparently, director Paul Verhoeven, in his DVD commentary of the movie, points out that he believes that it was all a dream. And he points out some things that's his interpretation of.
That's not a fun fact.
That's his interpretation of his movie.
This is not a fun fact at all.
Man, I could run.
Yeah,
I mean, like everything from his dream coming true. Basically, he has this dream, and then as part of their process for creating the memory, they pull from his dreams, and so obviously this is a dream that he's been having, and so they pull from it to make it seem more real, including the bulging eyes and the girl, to like when he's at recall and he's being put under, they're talking about alien artifacts, and they show on the monitor like a picture of the reactor that we see at the end of the movie. Like, how would they have access to that? Do they just guess it? Or
that's what all alien reactors look like. They've found multiple before, so they just like stock image.
Or the nerdy guy at recall, the assistant, he makes, right before he puts Arnold under, he makes a throwaway line about making sure he puts in a blue sky on Mars, and the movie ends with a blue sky on Mars.
True. But that's because that's what happens when oxygen volcanoes explode.
I think it was...
Everybody knows that.
I think it was all a dream. I mean,
flimsy.
I was probably like 17 the last time I really watched this movie, and I didn't pick up on all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm thinking...
Did you pick up on it this time, or did you Google it?
No, I picked up on it. I picked up on the picture of the reactor. I definitely picked up on the guy's mention of the blue sky on Mars.
Yeah. I think the reason it bothers me so much is
you just don't want it to be a dream.
If that's the case, it's a movie. Yeah, I don't, because then it's a movie about a guy sleeping.
No, it's about a movie having this wicked awesome dream that he thinks happens, and then you, as the viewer, have to decide what's real and what's not real. And I think that both interpretations aren't necessarily more or less correct. I think it was purposely made that way so you can have your own takeaways from it. It's not a movie about a guy sleeping. It's about this awesome secret agent. But then you're led to believe
it is a movie about an awesome secret agent.
Is it real?
Well, I mean, the reality is that it's a bunch of practical effects and a script and actors. But I could pretend that's not true either. And this is a documentary series.
I would if I have one goal throughout all of this whole movie jungle lifespan, however long we're doing this for, it's to get you to become comfortable with more abstract movies where things might not be real and enjoy it.
That's a good goal, because you want to set goals that you're not going to achieve right away, and so it's good to have something to aim for over a long period of time. I got one more fun fact for you, and then we can kind of wrap it up. The Johnny Cab whistles the Norwegian national anthem.
No way. I did not know that.
Yeah, so when it's whistling, it's the Norwegian national anthem.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, this movie is incredible. Like Mike already said, it's one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. Whether you believe it's all a dream, whether you're like me and you're just stubbornly think it's all real, either way, it's incredible and it's a dope movie. And we'll have to see. We'll have to dip into the bag and see if there's any more of these like Starship Troopers, Demolition Man, Total Recall. You know, these great 90s action movies that we can go back to. I'm sure there's some more.
There's some great Van Damme movies. We could even get back into the 80s and we could do like Big Trouble in Little China.
That'd be a good one. Is Jet Li's The One too new for this to fit in this bucket?
I think that was like early 2000s, right?
It's like two. Yeah, I think you're right.
Or the Escape from LA or Escape from New York.
Those would be good. That'd be a fun episode. Yeah. So this will be kind of an ongoing thing. We'll take you guys back to 90s era, the Max Action era. Yeah. And from time to time. And
we should do some more or we should also like do some talking about horror movies at the beginning of this. We should do some scary like horror sci-fi movies like Alien or
a lot of that would be fun for me because most of the iconic ones I've never seen.
My personal favorite sci-fi horror movie, and probably my favorite horror movie of all time, is The Thing. I'd be curious to get your take on it, Brian. I'm not sure you'd like that movie. It'd be weird. It'd be interesting.
I'd watch it.
It'd be interesting to get your take on it.
Yeah, I'd check it out. One thing I do know about The Thing is, first of all, I've seen like the middle 30 minutes of it 10 years ago. Not that counts because I remember almost nothing. But one thing that sucks about The Thing is they did do a Thing remake that turned out horrible.
Well, it wasn't a remake. It's
surprise.
It's a kind of prequel.
A sequel?
Prequel. It's a kind of prequel.
Okay, well, they put it together, and apparently they had all these incredible practical special effects and like put all kinds of time and money into practical special effects that looked awesome and did justice to the original's practical effects. And then they panicked and CGI'd over the top of everything.
Yeah.
So stupid.
That's a shame.
It's a real shame. But yeah, I haven't seen either of the It movies.
Those are great.
I haven't seen Jaws. We should do Jaws at some point. I mean, yeah, everyone has a handful of classics that they've missed. So
we should do all the classics and see if how many of them you want to remake, Brian.
You know what we should do? It'll be a lot. What we should do is like we should watch cartoons We should watch more anime, like watch more Miyazaki films, and see if Brian wants to turn all of them into live action movies. Because I bet you he does.
Yeah. See how many of them Mike can actually sit through.
Yeah, they're really good. But anyways, you know what we should do is we'll put up a poll when it comes time to select like which horror movie or which classic or which this, and I'll put up a few polls. I'll make sure to tweet it out, Instagram it out, so you guys are aware it's coming. And the more votes we can get on it, the better. So maybe you guys can share those when they happen. But in the meantime, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone that listens. You guys are awesome. It's the reason we keep doing this. I mean, and it's fun. I mean, I started this whole thing thinking like if it's just fun for me to do, that's worth it. So, but it's nice to have people listening. I really appreciate everybody. And make sure you follow us on all the socials I almost said Jungle Bro. I almost plugged just myself at the Movie Jungle. And send us an email. We would love to have a segment where we respond to user emails and questions. And so we're on the lookout for those emails from you guys at moviejunglepod. Or not at, but moviejunglepod@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're gonna start making up email submissions until we actually start getting real ones.
For sure. That's a great idea. Oh, Luis from Tacoma says. Anyways, yeah, that's our threat. We're threatening you guys with that. And also, if you want to watch it on YouTube, that would be awesome as well, because we'll have this summer, I want to start putting regular YouTube content out. I keep teasing it, and I want to deliver that for you guys. So keep an eye on the Movie Jungle YouTube channel. Last week's episode, I totally forgot to put on YouTube. And it will go up tonight or tomorrow, and then this one will go up probably tomorrow.
Double feature.
So if you're listening to this on a Monday, those two will go up on a Tuesday. But that does it for me. Mike, is there anything else you want to add or any comments you got for the people?
No, that's it. This is fun. We're going to keep this going. Glad to have you guys along for the ride. Let us know if you have any suggestions for movies.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you guys. All right. Until next time, turn on the reactor.